Are you planning a trip to the British Isles and wondering if you should rent a car? You should, and I'll tell you why. On the way here, I was feeling really confident that driving wouldn't be that big a deal here. But in fact, I felt so confident that I got a manual transmission instead of an automatic. I had the option, it would have been a little bit more money, but the majority of cars here in the UK and Ireland are both the manual. But anyway, I was feeling really confident, and then we got to Southampton, which I had to take a taxi. Yeah, that's where my confidence went out the window. That taxi driver, he was nuts. On top of him driving like a fool, he was like all over the place. He took us to the wrong place twice. In fact, actually, he was within like 200 feet of the place we actually needed to be to rent our car at his last stop. We just said, you know, forget it. We'll just get out and walk. The first problem I had, I couldn't find reverse. I tried pushing down on it. This little collar, this little decorative collar here, yeah, that's how you put it in reverse. I got my left and right all screwed up because I'm thinking, okay, if I'm making a left or if I'm making a right, see, I messed it up even there. If I'm making a right, I'm crossing traffic. So my initial thought is, you know, it must be the opposite direction. So anyway, I just got it all, but that's just me. Hopefully that won't happen to you. There are some differences between driving in the UK and Ireland. I started in the UK, so we'll start in the UK. I was shocked that all the road signs, the speed limits, even the car, everything is in miles per hour. I just assumed that we would get here and everything would be in kilometers. And the only thing that was in the metric system is when you buy gas, it's liters instead of gallons. So remember that when you're buying gas. But I must say that as far as buying gas, cars here are like super efficient. We've rented 3 cars since we've been here. They've all been hybrids. This is a non-plug-in hybrid, so it's super efficient. I get like 45, 50 miles to a gallon. Oh, I need to pay attention to the road here for a second. And in the UK, they have what they call a national speed limit. And then they have a sign that represents the national speed limit. But it's different depending on the type of road. I guess there's 2 differences. If you're on a dual carriage road, which is basically like a freeway, it's 70 miles per hour. But if you're on a single carriage road, which is like a highway, which is, you know, 2 lanes, one going each direction, that's 60 miles an hour. But where that could really get in your head is if you're on a single track road, which is, we've been on a lot of single track roads, and it was nerve-wracking at first, but you get used to it. But I'll go into that in a little bit. But anyway, the speed limit on those is the national speed limit, 60 miles an hour.
Oh, no
and you'd
way.
be absolutely crazy to go 60 miles an hour on one of those. In the UK, you don't see a lot of police on the road monitoring traffic because they have cameras. Cameras are everywhere. But the majority of people, they see the speed limit as a speed limit, not a goal to achieve and exceed. I mean, in the US, if the speed limit is 65, you see everybody trying to do 80. People just have more patience. I think I might have missed my turn. Yep, I think I did. I missed my turn. Oh well, I'll turn around. You don't hear horns. You don't hear horns at all. I mean, you're going along on a road that's like 60 miles an hour and somebody's doing 40 and they've got 20 cars behind them. Nobody honks, nobody gets impatient. I mean, you do get an occasional moron that wants to like try to be, and he wants to like pass everybody, but that's rare. You normally don't see the crazies here. I'm not sure where I'm at. I missed a turn back there and got lost, so well, I'll figure it out. But anyway, I'm sure you've heard that in the UK, the Brits queue very well, and that goes for driving also. They have no problem being in line, and basically the drivers here are they're just chill. They just go with the flow. There's 4 months total driving here. I probably had 4 or 5 idiots that are tailgating me or just, you know, driving like idiots or tailgating somebody else. I had some dude like almost jump a curb and hit me head on, and in both UK and Ireland, they love their roundabouts. They're everywhere. I've come across roundabouts like on a freeway. And you're flying along at 70 miles an hour and yep, there's a roundabout, so get ready to do a roundabout thing. And the one thing about the roundabouts, you miss your turn, just go around. You need to keep an eye on the road and then also the street signs. They'll tell you which lane you need to be in. But just as a general rule, if you're going to be going straight or making a left, you want to be in the left lane. You're going to be making a right, so you can make in the third exit on the roundabout. You want to be in the right lane, which is on the inside. And then use your blinker. I know in the US, it's rare that you see a blinker. Here, you look like a fool if you don't use your blinker. Everybody uses their blinker. You use your blinker going into your roundabout. If you're halfway through the roundabout, before I'm going to make my turn, I'll put on the blinker to indicate I'm taking that second exit. And then if you're going to make the third exit, you want to put on your right blinker so people behind you that are coming into the roundabout will know, you're planning on going around it. Roundabouts are a thing, and there's tons of them, so you might as well know what you're doing before you get here. There's basically 4 types of road here. There are motorways, which are M roads, like your M1, M2, or M roads are basically like a freeway. And then your A roads are like in US, they'd be like a highway. Basically a 2-lane, one going each direction. And then you have your B and your C roads. It's not like the US where your freeways and your highways are separated from residential. Your freeways are, but your highways are not. A lot of highways go straight through little towns in residential areas. So your B roads are basically not quite highways and not back roads either. Your B roads are going to be, you're not in a neighborhood, but you're not on a highway. I don't know how else to say it. And then your C roads, those are back roads. A lot of those are single track. If you're not used to single track, it can be scary at first. It's a little nerve-wracking, to tell the truth. But just the lowdown on the single tracks. If you find yourself on a single track road, which is basically a 1-lane road that, for 2 directions, you're going to see the speed limit on your car or on your map show you 60 miles an hour.
No way.
Yeah, that's stupid. But that goes into where I talked about earlier. It's like people here, they don't use the speed limit as, it's not a goal, it's actually a limit. If you find yourself on a single track, pay attention to where there's wide areas where 2 cars could pass each other. Because you're going to run into cars that are coming at you, and you're going to want to know if the closest place that you can pass that car is behind you or in front of you. And if it's behind you and you're backing up, just flash your high beams at them. And if somebody pulls over for you on one of these single tracks, just make sure you give them a wave, just to let them know that you acknowledge them. It's just etiquette. Another thing I found that is like very different here than in the US. I mean, it might be this way in small towns, but I haven't seen it in years. You can actually pump your gas here before you pay. In fact, they want you to. I made that mistake the first time I tried to fill up. I pulled up to the gas pump. I run in to give him my credit card to say, I want to be on pump 3, and she's like having a hard time finding where I've pumped gas on 3, and it was a confusing mess. And then a piece of advice: if you're going to rent a car, or if you're a group and you're renting a car, do your driver a favor and do some excursion type sightseeing. So set up where you take a bus to an area for sightseeing, like we did the Cliffs of Moher here in Ireland, where we were talking about just driving there on the way. Decided, no, let's just get to Westport, and then we did a bus tour that took us back to the Cliffs of Moher, and it actually turned out to be really good. But for the driver, it's really nice because you're not able to sightsee and actually see around. Anyway, it's nice to give your driver a break, especially when you first start driving. You're not going to take your eyes off the road. So there's no way you're looking around to see what's actually happening. In the UK, England, Wales, Scotland, the traffic signals, they're a little bit different. When you are sitting there at a red light, you're going to get a yellow light warning. You better be ready to go. The difference is in Ireland, you don't have that yellow light warning to take off from a traffic signal. It's just like the US, where you go from red to green. Another thing that I found in Ireland is, but there's at least one freeway on-ramp where there's basically no on-ramp. You come up from a stop sign, and you have to go from a dead stop to 100 kilometers an hour. Which, yeah, that was a little weird. You have to make sure that left lane is very clear before you take off. So I'm not sure if this is the best place to go when we're going to be on a ship in 4 days, crossing the Atlantic, but we're at the Titanic Museum in Belfast. All right, I thought this would be a cool place to finish this video. Yeah, behind me, that's where the Titanic was built, so pretty cool. If you're going to spend any amount of time here, you might as well get a car. It's so much easier to get around. It just gives you more freedom. So just get out and drive. I just turned in my third rental car since we've been here, and my total mileage for 5 months in the UK and Ireland was 4,260 miles. And I only had 2 people honk at me. Once was for entering a roundabout too fast and cut somebody off. And the second time was I changed lanes in the middle of a roundabout, which is really stupid on my part. But if you are just visiting London, don't bother getting a car. Number one, it's just chaotic to drive there. And plus the public transportation is so easy to get around. So if you're planning a long-term trip like this and you want to see what it's like to live out of your suitcase for basically a whole year, check out this video here. Thanks for watching.